Welcome back to Salt City Counseling, everybody. Once again, my name's Scott Carter. I'm a licensed therapist here in the beautiful state of Utah. I hope everybody's doing good out there. I got my morning brew, so I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm doing really well, actually. I'm doing really well. Here we are, early 2021. We have massive, massive, massive mental health pandemics on our hands. Um, Here in my local area, there's basically 3 therapist jobs for every 1 therapist. There's a virtual tsunami of people seeking services that can't get them. I'm not surprised. I'm just frankly not surprised. So I've been focusing a lot on self-care because I know that in order to help address these issues effectively and manage them effectively and be able to support my clinicians, it's important for me to be in a good place too. And so I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. In this video, I'm going to talk about the big scary boogeyman, mental illness that the people often have this it's this weird thing going on with them called schizophrenia. Should you be? I think I'm going to title this video. I'm going to clickbait it. Should you be afraid of people with schizophrenia? Quick teaser. I'll just give this a little bit of information just to provide a little bit of context. No, you should not. And I have a couple of recent experiences with this that I just felt like it would be positive or good or important to make some content about schizophrenia. Very, very, very misunderstood mental illness. Very misunderstood. Should you be afraid of them? No way, Jose. Nope. I'll tell you who to be afraid of. But first, if you're new here, subscribe, please. Hit like. Notification bell if you like my content. If you really like my content, hit the tip jar. All the links are in the description below. If you have a viewer question you want to ask me about mental illness, high conflict divorce and custody, personality disorders, parenting, kiddos, whatever, scottc at saltcitycounseling.com. You will remain anonymous. You can also take my courses on high conflict divorce and custody. Those links are in the description below. And so I think we're going to get into this. We're going to talk about schizophrenia, very, very misunderstood disorder. Okay, there was an old joke, and I don't hear it anymore, which I'm glad, but it used to go like this. Roses are red, violets are blue. I'm schizophrenic, and so am I. And when I'd hear that joke, I'd be like, you're actually talking about DID or dissociative identity disorder, which used to be known as multiple personality disorder. Schizophrenic would never say that. I started working in a treatment center for troubled kids back in the day. They had a unit of kids that had, a lot of them had adolescent onset of schizophrenia. So I've worked with those who have schizophrenia for a long, long time, 20 years. And I've worked in hospitals, I've worked on psychiatric floors, and I encountered a lot of people with schizophrenia, worked with a lot of people with schizophrenia, and we had a recent situation at work because we have like a medical side of our clinic and a mental health side. We had something come down the pipe that seemed a little off, seemed a little sketchy, and though there were some people in the office that they just thought, oh, we have this patient coming in. It looks like they have schizophrenia. We should be afraid. Oh man, and I had to talk a couple of people down. I was like, you got to stop watching Criminal Minds or listening to true crime podcasts or whatever. And no, they don't do this. This isn't a thing. I've encountered so many people with schizophrenia. They're so misunderstood. To be honest with you, I have found that the opposite is true when it comes to schizophrenia. They're not dangerous or violent or scary. They're actually gentle. And those with schizophrenia that I've worked with, 9.5 out of 10 times, they're very, very gentle. They're very kind. And this notion that they can just like harm people and not feel it or notice it is nonsense. It's complete nonsense. It's totally crazy. That's actually crazier than they are some of the time, right? And yes, they can have some paranoia. Yes, they can have hallucinations that tell them to harm people. But I have found them to be very empathic. They have no desire to harm people, none. If they did, they would feel it. It would cause them great suffering to cause any harm to anybody else. They really don't want to. They're actually very kind. They're very gentle. They have a ton of empathy. I don't know that I've ever encountered someone who has schizophrenia that didn't have like, it's kind of a deep love almost, or compassion or kindness about them. I have encountered many that have had some very, very gnarly bad hallucinations that told them to do bad things. I've also seen those who saw things that you would not want to know about. It was very scary for them to see some of the things that they saw. And so this pervasive myth that they are dangerous, it just persists. This is a stigma that has no truth to it. I've never personally encountered a case where someone with schizophrenia just, I don't know, often like, I don't know, butchered a group of people and didn't have any sense like they had any idea what's going on. It's crazy. That's nonsense. You're thinking of a sociopath or a psychopath. I'll tell you who to really be afraid of. Psychopaths. Be afraid of psychopaths. Be afraid of sociopaths. There's no empathy. Okay? Empathy is the thing that keeps people human. And no matter how advanced a person's mental illness is, if they have empathy, you shouldn't be afraid of them. They have no desire to hurt you. And I was even having this conversation at work with our receptionist, right? And I told her, I said, be afraid of psychopaths. Be afraid of sociopaths. And she's like, do we have any of those here? And I'm like, no, man, they don't go to mental health clinics. You never find them here. Psychopaths and sociopaths don't go to mental health clinics. If you see someone here who has schizophrenia, they want help. So treat them that way. Tell them that you're glad that they're here, right? And you should also be afraid of narcissists. I say that, you know what? I'm going to backtrack. You should be vigilant. You should be like, you should be vigilant of narcissists. But don't be afraid of them because they feed off of fear. They like fear. They want you to be afraid of them. Narcissists see people who are afraid as an opportunity. They're opportunistic of people who are afraid of them, which is why I dislike narcissists. Which is why I struggle with narcissists and have low empathy or compassion for them, because they have a tendency to capitalize on people's fear. If they sense that you want their approval, if they sense that you're afraid of them, whew, here they come. Open the floodgates, okay? So, I mean, be leery and vigilant of narcissists, but if you show fear, I mean, it's like an animal. It's like an aggressive animal. They can sense fear, and when they sense it, that's when they go for the throat, man. That's the truth. So, don't be afraid of borderline personality disorder. It's kind of a similar thing where they can sense fear and then they, right? They kind of have a tendency to, when they sense your fear. But I tend to find that those with borderline have a lot more empathy than those who have narcissism. But that won't necessarily stop them from being nasty if they feel like they're entitled to it. And that's one of my biggest issues with borderline. I've talked about this in other videos. Is they just seem to feel entitled to say what or do whatever they want to other people because they're hurting or whatever. And I just don't buy into that narrative. I don't. I really believe they need to be as accountable for their actions as anybody does. And so that's my biggest thing with borderline. Don't be afraid of them. They have had a tendency to be violent. But it's usually just like momentary throwing things or hitting things. They're not like premeditative usually. Narcissists generally are not violent, but honestly, it's the psychopaths and the sociopaths that you really want to worry about. But I'm going to wrap this video up because I need to get to work soon. Do not be afraid of those with schizophrenia. This is an ugly stigma that I wish we could get rid of. If you ever really got to know someone who has this disorder, this mental illness, you would probably really like them. And you might have a lot of empathy for them. For the most part, I find those with schizophrenia are really withdrawn. So they tend to be kind of isolated and lonely. They're very much in their own head a lot of the time. There's kind of a sadness about them, kind of a loneliness about them. So they need your love. They need your support. They need your kindness. Because, like I said, personally, I find schizophrenics to be, quirky, delightfully quirky, funny. They can make you laugh. There's some of the stuff that have come out of their mouths, man. It's just out of the blue. Totally left field. But they're gentle. Be kind. Okay? Thank you for watching. Thank you for your viewership. And we'll see you in the next one.